My name is Rachel. I'm 32, and for the past 10 years, I've poured everything into becoming one of the youngest senior managers at my company. While my sisters, Claire and Megan, built their lives around families and diapers, I stayed late at the office, perfecting pitch decks and negotiating contracts. Don't get me wrong, I thrive on the pressure, the strategy, but there are nights I wonder if I traded too much for the title on my business card. No ring, no crib, just floor-to-ceiling windows and the quiet hum of success. Tuesday started like any other: coffee, traffic, spreadsheets, until my phone buzzed. I glanced at the caller ID, Claire. I answered while mentally juggling a dozen things. "Hey, Rachel? Got a second?" She sang into the line. At 26, Claire's energy could power a small city. "Can I borrow you for a minute?" "Shoot," I replied, already half expecting a baby update or recipe request. I adjusted the volume and continued reviewing quarterly projections. "So, Mom's Big 60 is coming up, and we want to make it special. We're throwing her a surprise party, something classy, and well, it's going to cost a bit." That got my attention. "Okay, how much are we thinking?" I sputtered into my coffee when she said the number. It was more than I'd spent on anything non-work related in years. "It sounds steep, I know," Claire added quickly, "but it's Mom. She deserves it." "It's okay," I said, my fingers already opening the banking app. "All right, the money's on its way." "Awesome. Oh, and before I forget, you'll need to block out that whole week for the party. Don't book anything else during that time, promise?" The following weeks disappeared in a whirlwind of conference calls and late-night reports. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering what my sisters were organizing with all that cash, but they always dodged the question. Work deadlines piled up, and Mom's birthday faded into the background, until that Saturday dinner changed everything. The whole family showed up at Mom and Dad's place. The usual crowd with Aunt Karen's noisy kids and cousins Michael and Rachel. The usual dinner chaos buzzed around us. Dad's recycled jokes, Mom refilling plates no one asked for. "So," Claire said, poking at her food like it held secrets, "the birthday trip is officially booked. We're heading to Mountain Pine Resort for a full week." "You couldn't have mentioned this before?" I said, my voice sharper than I meant. "I'm not even packed for snow, and there's no time left to shop." Silence dropped like a weight. Mom cleared her throat, and I braced myself. "Sweetheart," she began, using that guilt-laced tone I knew too well, "we were thinking maybe you could stay back with the kids, just for the week." I scanned the faces around the table, half expecting someone to smirk and reveal it was a prank. But no one spoke, just the faint sound of utensils tapping against porcelain. "You're asking me to babysit?" I said slowly. "All 5 kids?" My mind started counting them off automatically. Megan's toddler Jason, Claire's baby girl Lucy, cousin Michael's twins Tom and Chloe, and Rachel's son Noah. "You're always so wonderful with them," Mom offered gently. "They're happiest when you're around." I glanced around, searching for a smile or even a wink, anything to say I wasn't being serious. But all I saw were hopeful expressions, waiting for the dependable Rachel to agree again. "This doesn't feel right," I said, surprised by my own words. "I'd like to be part of the celebration too. It's Mom's birthday." Megan, my 28-year-old sister, exhaled and set her fork aside, clearly annoyed. "Come on, Rachel. You wouldn't enjoy it anyway. You hate loud crowds." "Bored?" I echoed. "Since when did you start deciding what I feel?" "Well, you're naturally good at this," she said, eyes darting to Claire. "They cling to you more than to us." Let's face it, you don't exactly need a weekend away from diapers and tantrums like we do. My breath caught. Is that supposed to be some kind of dig? Claire cut in, using that familiar patronizing tone she reserved just for me. She just meant you've got no domestic chaos to escape from. We all need a breather. You get that, don't you? The green beans on my plate lost their shape as I blinked quickly, holding back the sting in my eyes. I wouldn't let them see how much it hurt. I stood up with the kind of grace only rage can produce. Rachel, Mom said gently, concern flickering in her tone, but she didn't rise or follow. I grabbed my bag, my dignity, and my last shred of patience, and walked out. No one made a move. No one asked me to stay. Only Mom's voice floated behind me, like a sitcom laugh track you didn't ask for. She just needs a little time, Mom said softly. She always comes back. As I reached my car, their laughter and chatter about winter plans faded into the night. A decade of saying yes, of stepping up without complaint. And this was the thanks I got. The babysitting was just the final straw. What stung most was how naturally they expected my yes, like it was a given. Apparently, I was the family's unofficial sponsor, secretary, and on-call nanny. Not a sister, not a daughter, just the human Swiss Army knife. I wandered around my apartment for hours, thoughts spiraling through years of memories, dinners, holidays, the quiet sacrifices. Each memory returned with a weight I hadn't noticed before, tinted by the disappointment of the evening. I could still see my teenage self at 16, stirring a pot on the stove while Mom sat beside Megan at the kitchen table. At 18, I stayed home during spring break to babysit Claire so our parents could enjoy a quiet trip away. At 21, I juggled 2 jobs while attending college, quietly helping Megan afford her dream prom dress. The memories flowed, one after another, small acts of love that added up over time. Rachel, can you take Jason for the afternoon? Megan's voice lingered like an old melody. I just need some rest, she'd added, not knowing how little rest I ever got. Can you handle the twins this weekend? Michael's words echoed like a familiar refrain. Rachel's tired, and you're always so patient with the kids, he'd added, like it was obvious. And every time I said yes, even when I had deadlines or early morning meetings, even when I barely had energy left from my own long week. I'd worn the title of the dependable one like a badge of honor, proud to be the sister they could count on. I sank into the couch, the cool leather grounding me. My eyes landed on the photo albums on the table, quiet witnesses to years gone by. Vacations where my smile was behind the lens, capturing everyone else's joy. Holidays where the kitchen felt like my designated corner while laughter echoed elsewhere. When was the last time my needs were part of the plan? It's not like you have a family to take a break from. Claire's voice echoed, soft but sharp, as if choosing a different path made my life somehow less real, less meaningful, as if years of showing up, helping, giving, all counted for less, simply because it didn't look like theirs. That night, rest felt far away. I lay awake, recalling those college years, scholarship in hand, working nights, trying to ease the load for my family. I began working right after college, quietly helping cover my sister's tuition fees. Long evenings at the office, inching my way up the ladder, one deadline at a time. I'd send part of every paycheck home, never questioned, never resented, just habit. By the time the sun rose, I had made a quiet decision. I'd never been one to pick fights or raise my voice. There had to be a gentle way to make them understand, without turning it into a fight. So I did what came naturally. I searched for a solution. I waited until the morning felt polite enough for a phone call. Mom picked up after a few rings, her voice familiar, but guarded. "Morning, Mom," I said, trying to sound calm. "I've been thinking about the family trip. I might have found a way for everyone to enjoy it. I can hire a professional babysitter to watch the kids during the event. That way, no one has to miss out, including me." There was a pause, longer than expected. "That won't do, Rachel," Mom finally replied, tone clipped. "You know we can't leave them with a stranger. They need someone familiar. They need you." "But Mom, I'd like to be there too," I said gently. "It's your birthday. I want to celebrate with you. I can find someone experienced, with references. It'll be fine." "Rachel, let's be honest. You're not the most social person," she interrupted. "All that noise, the people, you probably wouldn't enjoy it anyway. The kids will keep you company, and you love them. It's the best arrangement." The final click rang in my ear, cutting off any chance I had to speak. I stayed frozen, phone still in place, letting her words settle like dust. She didn't even offer a goodbye. I hadn't even blinked when the screen lit up again. Claire's name appeared. "How could you?" she snapped, not even waiting for hello. "I heard about your brilliant babysitter idea. Are you trying to sabotage this?" I straightened, surprised by how sharp her voice was. "Ruin it? I'm trying to help, to make it easier for all of us." "The plan's already done," Claire said louder. "Everything's set. You're messing it all up. And now you're being completely selfish, trying to change all our arrangements at the last minute." Her words landed like ice water down my back. "Selfish?" I repeated. "Absolutely. This has been in the works for weeks. Everyone's looking forward to it. The resort's booked, everything's lined up. And now you want to back out of one thing, for the family?" My fingers trembled. "One thing," I echoed, stunned. "If you mess this up, don't expect me to speak to you again." "I mean it." The call ended. I sat motionless, shocked by my little sister's warning. Then came the pings. More messages. This time, Megan. "Family sticks together," she declared. "We all pitch in. Don't forget I watered your plants that one time," came the next. "The kids adore you. You're so natural with them. Can't you just let go of the grudge and be a team player for once?" My thumbs flew over the screen. Real family doesn't mean free labor. Real family means mutual respect, not surprise schedules. Real love isn't measured by how well you obey orders. The typing bubbles danced, then vanished. Nothing. That's when it landed. Hard. The vague money requests. The half hints. "Just take some days off," they'd said. No mention of the mountain view. Then the casual dinner drop. All arranged, all decided. They'd choreographed the whole thing. While I was burning midnight oil, while I was being the backup parent and unpaid staff, they were planning their fun. They'd used my money, arranged my schedule, and planned to dump 5 children on me without so much as a conversation. And now that I wasn't playing along with their script, they were scrambling. Guilt trips, tantrums, emotional invoices. There's something liberating about seeing clearly for the first time. Suddenly, it all clicked into place. I felt as if 100 pounds had lifted off me. The guilt dissolved, making room for something better. Resolve. I opened my laptop with a quiet sense of purpose. Less than an hour later, I had a reservation at a San Diego beachfront. Not luxurious, but perfect. Ocean view, walkable to everything. I treated myself to a first-class ticket. Why not? I'd saved enough by skipping the ski trip. Work, for once, was blissfully uneventful. My phone stayed silent. No calls, no guilt trips. They probably pictured me elbow-deep in juice boxes and coloring books. That image made me laugh as I folded my sundress and tucked in a new swimsuit. A sun-soaked escape in the middle of winter. San Diego? Janet blinked, catching my screen. Sometimes you just have to shake things up. I shrugged, and meant it. On the morning of my flight, I took one last slow tour of my apartment. It was spotless. Old habits die hard. Fridge emptied, windows locked, everything as it should be. As usual. Except this time, I wouldn't be picking up when duty called. As the plane rose, I powered off my phone and buried it deep. No notifications, no guilt, no chaos. Just me, the ocean, and a full week of breathing room. The San Diego breeze wrapped around me like a soft welcome. Palm trees danced in the breeze, carrying the scent of sea salt to my balcony. My room exceeded every photo, brighter, calmer, perfect. The balcony framed an endless stretch of blue, like a painting in motion. The waves rolled in steadily, a rhythm older than worry. That first afternoon, I wandered barefoot, letting the sun-warmed sand ground me. When had I last let the world slow down for me? When was the last time I chose joy without permission? I swam lazy laps, read chapters uninterrupted, dined beside the waves. No little hands tugged at my sleeve, no spilled juice to wipe. I watched the sun melt into the sea, wine in hand, heart quiet. No bedtime battles, no alarm clocks in my mind. On my final morning, I let the quiet stretch a little longer. I knew reality waited behind the screen, but not just yet. But nothing could have prepared me for what poured in. It buzzed like a hive. Messages, voicemails, missed calls, endless. The timestamps pointed to the morning I boarded the plane. My fingers hesitated as I scrolled, breath catching. Claire was first. "Where are you?" "We're on your doorstep." Megan chimed in. "Rachel, open up. The kids are getting antsy." Michael added, "We brought Tom and Chloe like we said. Are you home?" Rachel. Rachel? Noah's asking where his alphabet book is. I could see it all. The driveway, the confused kids, the flustered adults. My sisters and cousins huddled outside, clutching suitcases and snacks. 5 wide-eyed kids in tow. Luggage packed, expectations high, now unraveling minute by minute. The messages shifted, first puzzled, then desperate. "Rachel, this isn't a joke. Where are you? The kids are getting anxious. You can't just vanish. It's not fair." And then, fury. Claire exploded. "You selfish witch. You've screwed us all." Megan followed up. "This is so childish. You ruined everything." Aunt Karen's words stung. She never talked like this before. "Ungrateful brat. Everything's a mess now. The children were depending on you." Mom chimed in later. "We did so much for you, Rachel. I never thought you'd turn out like this." Dad, who never texted, broke the silence with one sentence. "Your mother's crying. Hope this was worth it." The voicemails? Even worse. Their voices carried every emotion. Rage, sorrow, guilt. Even distant relatives chimed in. People I hadn't heard from in years. "You used to be so dependable. Now look what you've done." In the quiet of my hotel room, I read every message. A twisted love letter from a family who loved me only when I was useful. Every insult revealed a truth they'd kept hidden. This wasn't love. It was expectation wrapped in politeness. I didn't text back. I didn't explain. I just left. I was returning to the same apartment, but not the same life. The old me would have begged for forgiveness. This new me didn't owe anyone anything. No sooner had I folded the last sundress than the storm hit. The lock clicked, my mother's just-in-case key turning against me. They stormed in like a furious cavalry, Mom at the front, flanked by her lieutenants of outrage. My hard-won peace dissolved in the heat of their fury. "You destroyed everything!" Claire shrieked, arms flailing. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I let them rage. The same room where I'd given up birthdays, dates, and dreams, all for their convenience. I'd been the dependable one, the backup plan no one ever asked, just expected. Mike and Sam had flat out refused to watch the kids. Of course they had. Their refusal wasn't a surprise. It was a confirmation. No one else was ever expected to sacrifice. Only me. Megan snapped, bringing up their husbands with a bitter edge. They both conveniently had urgent business pop up, leaving Claire stuck at home with 5 kids while the rest of us went to the resort. She missed Mom's birthday, and all because of your selfishness. The entire vacation was a disaster, Mom chimed in, her pitch climbing. No one had a good time. We spent the whole trip discussing how you turned your back on us, how deeply you disappointed everyone. Your dad was so shaken he couldn't even keep his balance on the slopes. Their voices overlapped in a chaotic chorus, each trying to outblame the others, piling guilt higher with every word. The longer their rant went on, the more surreal it became, until something inside me snapped, but not how they thought it would. I burst out laughing, my laughter sliced through the chaos like glass shattering. They froze, mouths still open, staring as though I'd gone mad. "What's so amusing?" Mom barked, her face turning crimson. What on earth could be funny right now? I dabbed at the tears running down my cheeks. "Can't you hear yourselves? Don't you realize how ridiculous all of this sounds?" "Ridiculous," Megan repeated, stunned. "What exactly do you think is so absurd?" "You arranged the whole thing behind my back," I cut in, no longer laughing, but calm. "You assumed I'd drop everything, care for your kids, take time off, even chip in money, without a single discussion. Now that your perfect little plan unraveled, you've painted me as the bad guy." "But you always pitched in before," Mom murmured, more hesitantly. "Confused? Of course you are. You've never heard no from me before," I said, cutting her off. "I kept saying yes, so you kept pushing. At some point, I stopped being your daughter or sister. I just became your babysitter. You stopped caring about what I wanted or needed." "That's not fair," Claire said weakly, though even she didn't sound convinced. "Oh, really? Then tell me, why was I never part of the plans? Why didn't anyone check if I even wanted to go? Why did you assume I'd stay behind, smiling, while everyone else had fun?" I searched their faces for a flicker of guilt or awareness, but their expressions only grew colder. "You're the selfish one here," Mom said flatly. "You ruined my birthday. You upset your sisters. The kids are heartbroken. This isn't how a daughter should behave." That was the final crack. The last thread inside me snapped. "No, Mom. The selfishness didn't come from me. It came from all of you. This mess, you created it." Mom straightened, her features hard as marble. "If that's how you see things, then maybe I no longer have a daughter named Rachel," she said stiffly. "If that's really what you want, Mom," I replied calmly, "then I accept it." 6 weeks have passed since that last argument in my living room. 6 weeks of quiet, interrupted only by social media posts, laced with passive-aggressive jabs from my relatives. "Some people forget what family means," Mom posted last week, gathering sympathy from relatives who only heard her side. "Family always comes first," Claire captioned a picture of her daughter just yesterday. Grateful for the ones who truly know what family should be about. Megan's newest post was a lengthy rant about how selfish people ruin families from the inside. She didn't mention my name, but the implication was loud and clear. Not long ago, posts like that would have wrecked me. I'd lie awake, composing replies I'd never send, questioning everything. Now I just swipe past, sometimes with a quiet chuckle at how repetitive it all is. I've built new habits. Weekends aren't about being on call for child duty anymore. They're for book club meetings and time to myself. That Saturday morning at the cafe felt surreal. No buzzing phone, no last-minute begging from my sisters. Just last week, I snagged a spring trip to Europe on a whim, just because I could. No need to coordinate around others or ask permission. I just booked it. I saw a deal. I clicked, and that was that. In still moments, my mind drifts to the kids. I miss them, but not the way they were turned into guilt-laced tools. I hope one day they'll see the truth for themselves. Maybe they'll spot the same patterns and choose better. The spare key Mom used that final day still sits in my drawer. I think about mailing it back sometimes, but something always holds me back. Maybe some small part of me still hopes they'll wake up and realize how much they asked and how little they gave in return. I knew now, without a doubt, that my love had been their leverage. But waiting for them to realize that? Not anymore. I'm not waiting for anyone's approval to live my own life. I'm not waiting for an apology, not hoping for a change. For once, I'm choosing myself, and it finally feels like the right thing to do. Just yesterday, I quietly deleted the family group chat from my phone. I didn't announce it or offer any justification. I simply stepped away from yet another weight I no longer needed to carry. Some might label it selfish. My family certainly does. But I've come to understand the difference between selfishness and self-respect. It's not selfishness, it's self-preservation.